So gold IRAs, huh? Seems like everyone's got an opinion on them these days.
Right. It's more than just buy gold, retire rich, though.
Exactly. And this guide we found, How to Set Up a Gold IRA, published August 21st, really digs into the details.
Yeah, it's not a sales pitch, which is refreshing. More like, here's the deal, you decide if it's for you.
That's what we're all about in this deep dive, giving you the info to make your own call.
And one thing that jumped out at me is how gold's different from, say, stocks or bonds. This whole portfolio diversification thing, it's not just buzz.
Okay, break that down for me. How's gold different? Don't stocks already do that whole up and down thing?
Sure, stocks fluctuate, but gold often stays pretty steady when the market goes haywire. Like, it's not directly tied to those other assets.
So if the stock market takes a nosedive, my gold isn't necessarily going with it.
Exactly. This guide even called it a safe haven asset. It's held its value through all kinds of economic storms historically.
Huh. An insurance policy against a shaky market? Kind of. I like the sound of that. They also mention inflation protection. How does that work with gold?
Think of it like this. A dollar is just paper, right? But gold has this intrinsic value. Doesn't matter what's happening with inflation, a gold coin is still a gold coin.
So I could actually buy things with it if everything else got super expensive? Now you're talking my language. This guide doesn't just stop at why gold, though, does it? It goes into setting up a gold IRA.
And let me tell you, it's a process.
More than I expected. They emphasized finding the right custodian. What's the deal with that?
Basically, you need someone to manage the whole shebang for you, make sure you're following all the IRS rules.
Wait, so it's not as simple as, I don't know, buying a gold bar online and hiding it under my bed.
Not quite. This is where the custodian comes in. They're like, your gold concierge.
Okay, gold concierge, I can get behind that. So what else goes into this setup besides finding Mr. Gold Concierge?
Well, once you've got your custodian locked in, you got to fund that IRA, right?
Yeah.
Then comes the fun part, buying the gold. But there's a catch.
Uh-oh, there's always a catch. What is it?
Not all gold is created equal in the eyes of the IRS, my friend. It's got to be specific types, like American Eagle coins, Canadian maple leafs, that sort of thing, meets their purity standards and all that.
So I can't just melt down my grandma's jewelry. Too bad. Okay, so I've got my custodian, moves my money, and bought my very official gold. What's next?
Storage. And again, we're not talking about a shoebox under the bed.
Don't tell me. The custodian.
You got it.
Yeah.
They usually work with these super secure depositories, all IRS approved, of course.
Right, those guys. Again, it sounds like having a knowledgeable custodian is key here. They're like the gatekeepers of the gold world. But this can't be cheap, right?
You're telling me. There are fees involved, and this guide does not shy away from that.
Okay, let's talk about those fees. Having a gold concierge sounds great, but they're not doing this out of the goodness of their hearts, are they?
You gotta pay to play, right?
Yeah.
This guide breaks down 3 main fees to wrap your head around: custodian fees, storage, and transaction fees.
Okay, walk me through those. What am I looking at for each?
So custodian fees are like an ongoing management fee, right? Covers the admin stuff of keeping your gold IRA humming along. Storage fees, well, pretty self-explanatory. That's for keeping your gold safe and sound in those secure depositories. And lastly, anytime you buy or sell gold within your IRA, you'll get hit with those transaction fees.
Makes sense. So it's like paying rent on a high-security vault, plus a little extra for the paperwork. But seriously, how much are we talking here? Could these fees eat into my returns?
They absolutely can, and this is where the guide stresses, like, do your homework, compare different providers, look at their fee structures because they can vary wildly.
Right. Even a tiny percentage difference in fees adds up over time, especially when it's our retirement savings on the line, right?
Absolutely. Gotta find that sweet spot of transparency and reasonable fees. Don't be afraid to ask tough questions.
Yeah, it's my golden nest egg we're talking about here. But speaking of rules, what about the IRS? I'm guessing they've got some say in this whole gold IRA business.
Oh, you know they do. You're still playing by their rules, even with a gold IRA. The guide hits on 3 big ones. The type of gold allowed, which we've already covered, contribution limits, just like with regular IRAs, and then the big one, distribution rules.
Contribution limits, I get that. But distribution rules, what's the deal there?
So distribution rules tell you when and how you can actually take your money out once you hit retirement age, right? The IRS wants to make sure you're not dipping into that pot early and that you're paying your taxes, just like with any other IRA.
So no raiding the gold vault for an impromptu vacation.
Not without some serious consequences, no. Early withdrawal penalties are nothing to mess with. The guide also mentions something called RMDs. Familiar with those?
RMDs. Vaguely. Sounds like some mythical beast guarding a pot of gold, if I'm being honest.
Right. It stands for Required Minimum Distributions. Basically, once you reach a certain age, usually 73, the IRS says, all right, time to start enjoying that retirement nest egg, and makes you withdraw a minimum amount every year.
So I can't just hoard my gold forever.
Yeah.
Makes sense. What if I decide to ignore those RMDs, though? Does the IRS unleash that mythical beast on me?
Let's just say the penalties for skipping R&Ds are steep. Better to stay on the IRS's good side. And that's where a good custodian earns their keep, right? They'll guide you through that whole process, make sure you're taking out the right amount at the right time.
Right, those gold whisperers are starting to sound pretty essential. But I do have some more questions, though, more like frequently asked questions.
Hit me with them. The guy had a great FAQ section.
So about those FAQs, lots of folks out there probably wondering if they